So it's like a coaching Symmetra. It doesn't matter how bad it is. At least it's fresh. So Hanzo, I coach, I mean, literally once every 4 or 5 months. So no exaggeration. So be a nice change of pace. But it sounds like you've had a bit of a change of pace, and maybe not so nice with the rank reset. Is that the case?
Oh God, no, it's been interesting. I
Yeah.
mean, like, everyone's all over the place, and
Yeah.
I've been forced to carry games, and I'm not a good carry. I
Right.
don't have that kind of. I'm not consistent enough, and also just Hanzo doesn't. He doesn't hard carry as much as
Yeah. Yeah.
like a Tracer or even a Zen or Lucio can.
Yeah, yeah. You have to be like super patient in some situations and just kind of pray that your value will pay off. And I think that that's difficult. Like, here's what I would say about the rank reset is it's done to kind of shift the percentages of people around, but obviously like it is kind of cancer in the meantime. And so I think just kind of like
Yeah,
staying
yeah.
in the moment and focusing on what you need to do and not worrying too much about it is the ultimate goal. But obviously, like when you have a session coming up here, it can be very stressful. The good news is that I don't really care like of what rank you're at. I don't really care. I want to know what you were prior to the reset. And then we'll talk goals and we'll talk about like what you've been trying to do. And then obviously we'll talk about some feedback and we'll focus mostly on that.
Well,
Okay. What got you initially interested in coaching when you fill out the session
um,
and immediately?
I just
Or
kind
initially?
of like I don't know. I've been climbing over like a while, but I felt it slowing down going into what season was it? Like season 13 or 14 or something.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like it just plateaued, and I didn't see like what I was missing, and I just felt that I was missing something.
Right.
Because I just
Okay.
get a different perspective, someone who knows how to play the game.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. Have you always been a Hanzo one trick? I mean, you're not
No,
completely Hanzo one trick, but mostly.
I started out as a Lucio one trick, and then I just
Okay.
after at some season it was just healing got too strong, and Lucio just couldn't cut through it at all.
Sure.
It's
Fair
like,
enough.
oh look, Arcade made a video. I guess I'll watch this. Oh look, that hero looks fun. Sure,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah. 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 Okay. That's when did that transition happen?
I hold on, let me see. I think it was season 6. I want to say no,
Okay.
5, 4. Yeah, season 5-ish.
Okay. Fair enough. And obviously, it's stuck. Like you've enjoyed your
Yeah,
stay.
yeah.
Okay. What has kind of clicked outside of the art game where it's like, oh, that's fun. What's
Oh,
stuck for
and
you
just
personally?
I really like the like bow gameplay.
Yeah.
It's like unpredictable enough that it's not like, oh yeah, just aim right on their head except slightly to the right or to the left and then wait.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, there is bullet drop at least. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
don't just turn your brain off and kind of spam shots, but at the
Yeah.
same time you can do
Yeah.
that too.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Right. Well,
But
people describe
also
them as
just
like shooting logs down main, but obviously, like as you and I both know, that's not really how it goes.
yeah,
But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
yeah, it's like verticality, just a lot of free verticality and
Yeah.
just as
Yeah.
many, yeah, I don't know, just a lot of spots to shoot from, and then also storm arrow bouncing off of walls is just so much fun.
Yeah.
I don't get to do it that much, but you know, when it
Right.
happens, it's dopamine.
Yeah. I get you. I get you. Okay. And then so movement, kind of taking different angles, the bow play. You feel like you want to improve your positioning and staying focused in fights. At least you did when you filled out the form. I feel like I get a little
Yeah,
too aggressive and die, or I'm too passive and do nothing. I'm not sure exactly what I need to do. It just feels like something isn't clicking.
yeah. I
Okay.
think my positioning still needs work, but I think my aim has definitely improved a little.
Sure. How so?
Like
Just reps?
I mean, just I don't know. I'm not missing important shots as often, and I guess like I don't know. I guess I feel like I'm aiming better. I might. It also might just be placebo because I'm less doomer about the game, at
Yeah.
least
Yeah.
recently.
Okay. Well, good. Well, good. Well, good. I mean, we could talk about perks in a little bit here, but I'm looking at your form, and I want to skip ahead here to what do you feel is holding you back. When you filled it out, maybe this has changed. You said mechanical inconsistency, which might be positioning, which you kind of talked a little bit about that. But you really talked about the positioning in terms of the adjective scale of aggressive versus defensive, and essentially finding where
Yeah.
you need to be in any given point. And would you still feel like that's kind of like the spectrum of positioning struggles that you've had?
Yeah, because I have no clue when to be defensive. Like I know like
Okay.
once my team's dead, I run away, but sometimes it's like I'm I'm I don't know how to describe it. It's like I'm in and then I take 3 steps too far and I just blow up,
Yeah.
or I just don't see the entire enemy team and
Right.
there's just no one there.
Right. Right. So you're talking about aggressive or defensive, almost in terms of how far forward or how far backwards you are. Really.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you'd like Spotted to know? Please be patient. I am very dumb sometimes.
Yes. I have a terminal case of stupidity.
Okay. Terminal. That's that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh yeah, it's going to kill me one day.
That's tragic. Tragic. Okay. Let's see. Physician staying focused in fights. So you talked about also staying focused in fights. Elaborate on
Yeah.
that a little bit.
I just have issues being focused in general.
Sure.
I mean that's partially just something like, you see a butterfly and you just turn and look at it.
Sure. 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 Sure.
Again, I think I've improved on that
Yeah.
a little. That I'm not as concerned about it, but
Okay. Okay.
like, yeah,
I mean, as always, like going in to a game with a specific outlook or a specific goal definitely helps, but a little bit of ADHD is kind of the norm for the average Overwatch player, and I don't think it's necessarily a huge problem. Like, there's definitely like perfect games where you're fully locked in, you know exactly what you're trying to practice, and even if you don't play all that well, you feel like, hey, I was really locked in, I was really practicing what I need to practice. But I think when we ask what you need to improve on with your practice quality, we would love to see more of that. We'd love to see, but honestly, it's more of a scale, It's more of a scale of just like, let's just see if you could be a little bit more focused, or even when you are focused, are you focusing on the right things more so than anything else?
Yeah.
To even get to like, let's say at the time of the forum, you were like Plat 1. Where are you at now? Or like, ignore the rank
I am
reset. Where were you
right back
prior to
at-
the rank reset?
Plat 1.
Okay, so
I
Plat 1.
just ranked from Diamond 5. Like I just right on the border, flopping back and forth.
So you're still Plat 1, right? And like for you
Yeah.
to be like, okay, let's get comfortably Diamond, right? We don't need you to like all of a sudden become the Terminator end game to be able to get to
No,
mid Diamond, right?
no.
We just need to find like what value can we squeeze out of where you're at. So, okay. Now, are there any situations that are worth noting where you're off of Hanzo? You mentioned May briefly in your form. Like, are we talking about like 5% of games, 10%?
Oh, I mean, like, only I guess it's like if I'm ever having like a really bad day on Hanzo and I'm just like, okay, you know what? I just want to play May. She was back when I was first playing Overwatch in like 20, whenever the game was released.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I enjoyed May, and I had to quit the game for
Yeah.
other reasons. I was a tiny child, and parents decided the game wasn't worth having.
Yeah, makes
but
sense. Okay.
So-
So basically just Hanzo, like realistically.
yeah,
like-
basically.
Okay.
And I swapped a Tracer in overtime, and sometimes if there's a Reinhardt Lucio, sure,
I
I'll
got
play
you.
May. Why not?
Sure. Okay. And then at the time in the forum, you said anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours when I'm like actually grinding Overwatch. Is that
Yeah.
still relatively accurate?
Yeah, I'd say I generally play like 2 or 3 games in a row before it's like, okay, I just have to get off. I'm not focusing on, my brain is fried, or I'm just getting tilted, and I'm not
Sure.
going to be.
Sure, but you're willing to pull the plug if it's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like getting tilted.
Do you have any sort of a warm-up routine or like mechanical strategy for like the way to start the day, or is it just kind of jump in?
I mostly just jump in. I do tend to go into death matches, just kind of practice a little bit, but
Yeah.
also at the same time, sometimes it's just like I need to actually just physically warm up my hands, and so it's just do anything at all with the mouse.
Yeah. I don't know how often you've played deathmatch, like a proper deathmatch, but that might be worth at least trying out. Like I'm pulling up the arcade right now, and there is an 8-player deathmatch. If that's available when you jump in, trying that out and just doing one of those might be really useful. It's tempting to play to win in that mode, but obviously Hanzo's not the best play to win hero.
There's
in
too
deathmatch.
many. I don't know if
Genjis
it's
and
still
so on.
Roadhog infested, but
Yeah. At least he has open QHP, so he is killable. But yeah, I know what you're saying. But basically, like you said, it just feels like a much more rapid exposure way of warming your hands, and I think that's really key here. I think the other thing that a lot of Hanzo players mess up is that if you look at everything as like an RGA, I line up the perfect headshots from 45 meters and I just hit every shot, But you and I both know that like a lot of it is just like I'm being dove by a tracer. Can I win? Can I live? You know, like
Yeah,
how do
I
I
mean,
beat a Winston and not die when he lands on top of my head? You know what I'm saying? So it's like all those like micro engagements that I think are nice in deathmatch as well.
yeah, yeah. I think also like I don't play like Arge. I don't mind spamming when I have to, and I don't mind like going to just. I guess I'm more willing to do whatever it takes to win, and he's more playing for fun. And
Yeah,
it's,
exactly,
but I'm
exactly.
not willing to swap, so not that willing to win.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. Like you're trying to find like what's the most value that I can squeeze out of this character in this game, and I think that's a good way of
Yeah,
looking at it. I mean, I think Arge is like the get quaked on, right? He's like playing more for clips with his character, you know, and less
yeah,
interested in winning the game, which is whatever. But I guess that's kind of that's why I bring up the deathmatch, right? It's like you need to be able to win those 1v1s or at least live those 1v1s. And to be honest with you, the best way to practice that is just reps in deathmatch.
oh yeah, yeah,
And if you're going in ice cold into ranked, I think that that's probably something that you should at least experiment with. I don't know how familiar you are with Vaxta code. It's not great for Hanzo, but it's something,
yeah.
right? Like even just 2 or 3 minutes, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I've played it once or twice, and literally, I think it was like 5 minutes in. I went from I mean, I was practicing on cast because
Yeah.
I'm not, but it's like 5 minutes in. It's like I went from missing 90% of my shots to hitting like 70% of them or something.
Right. It's not
yeah.
it's not the best aim trainer because it is still bots, but at least you kind of mentioned it earlier. It's just
Yeah.
about waking yourself up.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so that's kind of what I would. So I always find whether it's deathmatch or Vaxstar or some other code where you could dump in a couple of minutes. Like we're not even talking about like half an hour, like just a couple of minutes just to wake yourself up. I think that would go a long way, honestly. I think it'd go a long
yeah.
way.
All right.
Goal is to get to masters. Short term, just understanding the game better. If you're able to put in 2 hours of one tricking Hanzo consistently, I think that you're basically one slightly favorable meta away from being able to hit masters, at least from a playtime like check. Right. The question is, what is the quality of that playtime? How consistent are you able to play the game? How consistent are you able to like set goals for yourself? Let's say it's possible theoretically. Let's say that your ceiling masters is possible. So let's figure out what we need to do to kind of steer us up our way there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other questions?
I think most of my questions are after the like actual
Okay.
reviews.
Yeah, let's take a look here then. Let's pull up one of these codes here. Now you got two. I'm not for either one. Which one do you want to start
Um,
with?
we should probably start with the first one.
Okay.
The second one is me going 0-12 or like a 3-12 or something. It was not.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're
I've had one
unbalanced
of those
game. It was a
games. I've
diva.
had one of those games before. So, okay. Strengths of Hanzo. I would describe in a certain way, but I'm curious to hear what you would describe Hanzo's strengths are compared to other DPS. Let's start with that.
I don't ever see him losing a 1v1 unless it's like a Curie up close. I don't
Okay.
know. I guess I'm my view is very skewed because I don't play a ton of other DPS.
Yeah.
But it's like I have off angles. My shots aren't like as easy to see, I guess.
Sure.
And it's free information with Sonic and also just storm arrows, high burst damage.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of look at him like I'm trying to think of like a good example here. Kind of a little bit like an Echo or an Ash. Basically, he's like a really, really good situational duelist. Whereas a lot of characters like Genji, Tracer, Cassidy pretty much are very consistent output of how good are they at winning 1v1s, right? Hanzo
Yeah.
is either really bad or really pretty quite good. And a lot of it revolves around, do you have Storm Arrow and did you have information with Sonic, right? And then I guess finally you definitely want to talk about like your effective range. Like Sonic doesn't really, or Hanzo doesn't really have a very bad effective range, but he's definitely going to be more effective in medium ranges,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah,
don't really want to get up
closer
to
you can
people's
get.
grill, right? But not too close is the thing, right?
Well,
like if I
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to kiss the tracer, but
basically, right. You
Arm's
have
length.
tools if they get close, but you really don't want to be like if I'm playing Reaper, Cassidy, Tank, there's just not a lot of reason for me to get close. But at the same time, I'm not Widowmaker range either. So I think like that's kind of like what you want to be doing there and finding what angles that makes the most sense for you. So okay, we'll take a look here. Now you chose this code because you played relatively well. And did you win or lose this one? Was it close?
This one was a win.
Okay, how close was it?
second round was a lot closer. First round was kind of just
That's fine.
me popping off. So
That's fine. Well, we could just highlight some of the things that you're doing well. So, like, for example, here, off angle, good stuff. Love to see it, right? Now, the interesting thing here is
I backed out because the Malga.
yeah, I mean, it's fine to be on the same angle as your Malga as long as there's some sort of pressure this way. Like, you don't have to be at a different angle than your tank. You just need to be at a different angle to your team, right? So if there's even just one person here, this is still technically fine. I think the reason why this feels a little bit less happy for me is it's a little more congested, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to stand where the Orisa was going to spear me.
Right. And there's anti-nade to worry about, and dynamite and helix. It just sucks. This feels a lot better. This is also used to your verticality. So this is where we start to delve. Well, this is where we really start to delve into the micro. So first things first, I wouldn't mind you sonicking this just because you don't need any more information than what you already see in your screen. So when you talk about the 2 uses of Sonic, what are the 2 uses of Sonic? To your
hacking health packs and hitting people.
Sure. Okay. So the last
info,
basically info and helping hit people, right? So like if you're worried about a flank here and you think that there's somebody here, then you need to Sonic the angle, right? But there is no, but they're all here, so you're just going to Sonic the lineup shots, basically.
I think I saw everyone shooting down main earlier, so it's just like they're not flanking.
Right. Now, quick question for you. Perks. What have you been toying with? I've got a couple of opinions, at least on paper, with Hanzo's perks.
I despise Storm or the Scatter Arrow.
I agree. I think it's super mid.
It's not even mid. It's an actual nerf. And then hacking health packs has been way more useful than I thought it would be.
Yep.
And I like the wall climb.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
The faster fire rate on body shots or like any shot hitting. I've heard that it applies to Storm Arrow as well, but generally I don't want to shoot my shots too quickly because it's like partially just like I've memorized the amount of time to pull the arrow and hit, and also partially like same reason you don't just shoot every bullet when you pull a tracer clip. It's like you kind of want to be on your target.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah. So okay, I mean we're on the same page with perks then. Okay, let's take a look here. Now you say that, but then we look at the storm. Arrow, and it's a bit clunky there. Definitely Sonic that.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, so good. Good shot. Good storm arrow. I mean, you're taking
not lucky bounce. I swear.
Well, I mean, you're like okay. I mean, you're hitting shots, which is obviously great. But again, I want to highlight here that like really. For the most part, outside of the first little engagement on the right room, where probably a little too small of a room for you, your angling's been really good.
Yeah. The only reason I go into that right room is I feel like I don't have any good view from like any other angle on first point.
I think you just addressed your own complaint there with where you actually ended up on main, which is up top.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like that's probably your go-to most of the time. I would definitely just disengage here.
Yeah, go back to the high ground and
so like obviously you clunked your shots here, but like at least take the duel from here so that if you start to miss your shots, you could just run away essally. You get what I'm saying?
I was actually thinking the high ground behind me.
I mean, but it's same thing, right? Like honestly, that would be fine too. Sure. Yeah, other than that, angles were good. Crosshair placement was pretty good. Crosshair placement's a little low here, but I think you address it. Like that crosshair placement's so incredibly important for heroes like Hanzo. Because it's not as easy as other characters, right? Just based off the projectile. I mean, there's a very fundamental rule of Overwatch. It's if somebody's on your angle, you have to fight them first.
I just didn't see them.
Yeah.
I thought it was only the what is it? Ana there.
Yeah, I got you. Nice shot.
Yeah, just.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep going here.
I'm amazed I survived that.
Yeah. Hey, we'll take the kill. Good Sonic. Take the space off of the Sonic. You have Storm Arrow, so you can be a little more free to do what you like. Okay, so this is where the juice hits the fan, right? So like, there's nothing wrong about how you're taking this angle necessarily. You don't have your lunge, You technically don't have wall hacks, but you basically have everything but wall hacks because you made him rotate to here and you know that he's here.
Yeah.
You have Storm Arrow, which is your auto win button. So then we really got to kind of slow this down. And to be honest with you, you didn't even spam your shots. You kind of took your time to aim. So if we slow it down to normal... I normally when I look at this, I'm like, yo, Hanzo, slow it down. Don't mash. You just missed.
Yeah.
You
I
just
just need to
missed.
hit.
Yeah, you just need to hit. Now give him credit. He did
He
see
was
you
staring at me.
Yeah, he did see you on entry, so maybe that's something to kind of give a little more respect when they know where you are too, right? Maybe this is not an engagement that you have to force. We talked about proximity as well, right? This is an engagement that if you don't hit your shots, he will beat you. But I actually don't think this is that big a mistake. I think you just clunked it.
All right.
So I think it's important to highlight your screw-ups, but also important to highlight the screw-ups that, you know, aren't necessarily strategic, so you're not like, don't overthink it. Let's focus on what we need to focus on. Like, this is probably just a screw-up, right? Like, this is just dumb. I like the idea of peeking through there, but, like, you don't have to force that. Definitely take the angle here to start to take space for your team. Even with the shots in the Orisa, like, you know that you could just dump, but the soldier's going to kill you, so you got to worry about this guy. And to be honest with you, this is like, ironically, you're probably going to survive this, but this is like the first messy positioning thing that you've done, really. Like, major positional error. What's wrong here? Like keep it as simple as you can. What's
giving
wrong?
up high ground?
Right. Like, it's not just giving up high ground, but you need to fight for space here. Like, this is your angle. Don't stand on main and fight here. And you're like, oh well, I was trying to. It took you way too long, mate. It took you way too long. So by the time that you're here, that space is already contested, right? So then that pushes you out. And it pushes you out. And now you're getting pincered, right? This is just kind of a disaster. So
yeah. So don't even shoot the Orisa. Just go straight to the...
pop the Orisa a little bit, but then as quickly as you can. Get to here, or here, or here, or recontest the soldier. Just use your playground here. This is your playground. You know?
All right.
So once you know where you need to be, get there as quickly as you possibly can. And I want to point out something else, too. You've got a little bit of a position, an aim habit here. That's really... You're slowing things down, but what's the problem with this? Do you see it?
Yeah, just
watch that.
Unflicking.
Well, say it one more time.
Or well, unflicking. I guess it's like I flick to them and stop it.
That's it. That's it. You flick to them and then flick away. Why?
I have no clue, to be honest.
Right. This is a really common habit. I'm convinced this is like something that, like, I don't know if it's like physiological or it's like the old school hit scan players thought they were cool doing it. But why are you making this flick so hard? She takes up half of your screen. Why are you... Okay, so let me introduce you to... Now, you probably already know this, but I'm going to put you through the rigmarole. So you failed miserably, so now you have to listen to my spiel. It'll be 30 seconds, I promise. Okay? And I'm going to demonstrate it with... Okay, it's called track flicking, okay? You familiar with the term?
No, I'm not, actually.
It's very simple. I never do this. That's why. I don't do that. What you do is you track the target, last second adjustment.
Unerring precision.
What you do is, the reason why we flick is because we allow ourselves that last second read on their movement to quickly put the crosshair where we think that they're going to go, right? If you think about even hit scan aim, it's because there's latency between our brain telling ourselves to do something and it's actually doing it, right? Everything is projectile if you think about it. Everything. Like, if I see somebody moving to the right, I actually flick my crosshair ahead of where they're going because I predict that's where they're going to end up going. But there's a slight delay, basically, is my point. So that's what flicking is. It's kind of like that slight delay in your brain, and so you're trying to predict where they're going to go next or reading their movement, okay? Now, the problem with what you're doing is not only are you flicking and resetting, that's bad enough, but also there's no reason to keep your crosshair static before you flick, because if you think about this, this is a harder shot than this. You see what I'm saying? It's so much a harder flick. It's a further distance. So what you do with this applies to all hit scans is you track, and then you notice that there's like a last second adjustment right before I shoot, right? Last second adjustment, right? And that makes it so much more consistent. And sometimes it doesn't even look like I'm flicking at all because I'm not, right? That's something you do with Hanzo all the time. None of these just smooth. Aim at their head and then flick at the last possible second. So what that would look like, and the VOD here with the Orisa, well, you tell me, what would that look like?
Ready for battle.
Just aim at her body and flick up to her head slightly.
If even that, you probably just aim at her head and flick to her head.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
You know, Like
I
you
also
could be
just suck at tracking, to be honest.
right, but you suck at it because you don't do it.
Well, yeah, true.
Right? So
I would
I look
argue
at
with
this
that.
here and I'm like, why is your crosshair not pointed at her head? Aim it at her head and then make the last second adjustment.
Yeah.
That way, and also don't reset, right? But the reason that is so important is because you make the flick easier. You make it so much easier. It's just a micro flick. That we're talking about like minor adjustments rather than just like, I mean, I don't even know what that is. It's funny actually because it's not the first time that we've seen that. You ready for this? We didn't even talk about it in the moment because I'd only seen it once, so I wasn't worried about it, but we saw this like recently. Remember this?
Oh,
Check
yeah.
this out. Now let's revisit this clip here.
Who will join me on
You see that?
Yep, that's...
You see that again? Over flick, right? Now, a
Yeah.
moron, a bad coach would say, oh, your sensitivity is too high. You're over flicking. No, that's not the problem. The problem is,
Yeah.
is that you're flicking, and for goodness knows why. You don't need to do that. Track the person, make a last second adjustment. That's all. Make
Yeah.
sense?
All right, yeah.
And this is something that you can literally go into as many ranked games as you want and practice this and only this. Screw your positioning. Nobody cares. By the way, you did it with the Ashe there too. I don't know if you saw that. You
Yeah,
flicked way
yeah.
past her head. But just practice this. Just go in and just work on your aim. Not just your aim, but your aim mechanics. I'm gonna track flick, track flick, track flick. You just do that over and over and over and over again. And because it's a competitive game, there's actual stakes, which means it's even better to practice because you got a little bit of pressure on yourself. You see the hub, like, okay, it wasn't perfect, but like, do you see your aiming style here compared to what we compared earlier?
Yeah.
Look how smooth this is. You aim at their heads. You make little adjustments. You see that? Like that. It's
Yeah.
not hitting every one, but it's decent, right? Like those are headshot height. It'd just be a little bit behind, but like that's what we want to see.
discipline comes focus.
Be smooth. Be smooth. I do this with Genji all the time. I have a really bad habit that I do exactly what you're doing with Hanzo. I do it with Genji. And a lot of Genji players have that problem, and it's really bad. Okay, so let's look at this one a little bit. Let's grade your mechanical performance here. What do you think? Let's slow it down right here.
Not even...
It's not too bad there. It's off. You see it? It's almost like you purposely put
Yeah.
your crosshair off of them on purpose, right? Which is really weird if you think about it. But
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
but then this one gets really bad,
Marked by the dark.
right? Look at that. What was that? What if you miss the shot? You got to do another arrow, right? So, okay.
I guess I still have... I think it might be a habit from when I had a smaller mouse pad, because
Could be.
now I can, like, actually reach full
Yeah, I mean,
reach
maybe that's
off the
it.
mouse pad.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I honestly don't know, but I do see it all the time. Even to a really smaller extent here, right? This is a very tiny detail, but look at where your crosshair is aimed at as she turns the corner. Why is
Yeah,
it aimed on the wall, number one? But number two, why is it aimed at her torso? Right? Because you've shown us several times that you have really good crosshair placement when you want to, right? Especially in these longer shots versus the Ana across the map. You hit her in the head. That's pretty impressive. Nice. So we're not going to overanalyze it too much more. But let me know if you have any other questions, all right? With mechanic stuff
alright.
specifically. Because I really like the way that you're using Storm Arrow so far. I think your Sonic has been pretty good as well. I think the angles that you've been playing have been pretty smart. Like, you're not afraid to get dirty with it, but only when you have Sonic. Or Storm, excuse me.
Yeah. Hid from the bobble and then he got visored.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, hindsight here, you probably should have just tucked in here, to be honest with you. But I also look at this fight and
Yeah.
like, I don't know if this fight's winnable. So, okay, well, that's
well,
one of
alright.
the replay code moments here. So give me a second to restart. Have you had this issue before?
I have not.
This happens to me on about half of the replay codes now. I've submitted a bug, and I'm actually tracking what heroes crash, because I don't know if it's a perk. So I'm actually going to screenshot that moment and see if I can find a pattern here.
Yeah, because I picked up wall climb there, which is why I tried to wall climb in the doorway, even though I had a leap already up.
Oh, so just there at the end you did?
Yeah, right before it crashed. When I was in the room and the Kiri just left, I think that's when I picked up
Interesting.
the perk.
Interesting. Okay. Oh, there it goes again. Gee whiz. So we're gonna have to avoid that one segment like the plague.
Oh, all right.
The strategy is don't pick a perk. It's really simple.
Oh.
And
No, all right.
Yeah, it's really simple. Just play with your hands chopped off. So I hear with some summer players are like, they don't even apparently not even playing with some of the majors because some of them are like, if you hack a teammate for healing, it means that you can accidentally hack the wrong person, and it's weird.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this again.
I can imagine, like, if Kiryu could teleport to her enemies and you're just, like, spinning around to try and shift out.
Right. Okay, let's see if we can avoid this situation here again. So it was right around here. So we go a little further up. Okay. So let's screenshot this. And I'm going to see later on. This crashed when right after shows perk. Okay. Thank you for your contribution. I will now use your replay for science. Okay.
All right.
Let's
All right.
keep going.
Science.
Yeah.
That is a interesting bug.
It really is. Yeah.
Repentance.
Okay. Nice.
Huh.
Angle here is fine. I
Oh,
think it's
I've-
obviously
yeah,
it's a
this,
little
stream reset, by the way.
You're
Yeah.
You're right. Brilliant coach, by the way. Okay. there we
Don't
go. You
worry.
should Click my profile picture and click over.
Yeah.
Okay. So main thing here is I think this is okay. If I really wanted to be nitpicky here, I would say, hey, you would feel more comfortable if you're up here, or if you want to get really saucy with it, you'd feel more comfortable up here.
Yeah. I think I was hesitant because I was trying to check behind me to the left if anyone was coming out there.
But that's exactly why I don't want you here.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you're here, you're safe. If you're here, actually, you're also safe from getting flanked from behind. You get what I'm saying? So just pick an angle that doesn't expose your back. Either more aggressive, quote unquote, or more defensive, your choice.
Okay. Yeah. So don't just slop it in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Don't just slop it in the middle is a great example. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to kind of zoom to this and focus mainly on your CD usage and your positioning. If I see anything major, because we've already kind of established the mechanical stuff. That's hilarious, actually. Fully support that.
It's going to happen again and again.
Hey, I mean, if it ain't broke. I would Sonic that, actually, I think.
Yeah.
Just so that next time through it's a little easier, or I might even pre-Sonic this. Okay, you're Sonic the angle there, that's fine.
Yeah, I heard the Ash walking under, and or not Ash, what was it? One of those
Cass.
things walking under.
One of those things, yeah, well put. Okay. A little rush with your Storm Arrow there, right? You notice that? Now, that's something that you've been fairly good at so far, but that's one of the first ugly ones you've seen, so maybe worth putting that in our back pocket. Like the angle here. That is shot so you to land. Obviously, need to disengage that one. And a good disengage as well. Okay. A little bit of a wasted Sonic there.
Watch yourself.
It's also kind of hard because one of the things I've noticed, and this is just not just for you, but a lot of players, is that the better things go, the sloppier people play.
Yeah.
So, like, you'll be like, for example, this is just kind of, I don't know, mid, right? Like,
I remember my thought, because it was so recent, I was like, okay, my hazard is 1 HP, I want to try and get him out.
Right. I understand that, but you
yeah.
don't have any scouting. You didn't even place it where you wanted it to. Like, it's too far to the left. Like, so where your hazard is, where they're pushing your hazard, this is not where you want it to be. You want it to be slightly to the right? Just a little bit. Like, you don't want half the dragon thrown to the wall, right? Which is exactly what's happening here. So the intention's fine, but the execution isn't.
Okay. Yeah, my dragons are also terrible, but I just
Well,
I
what about
don't
your
think I've
dragons
ever
are
worried
terrible?
about them.
What about your dragons are terrible? Let's be specific.
I think I watched I forget who it was, but it's like some tracer and they're just like, throw your pulse bombs, just try and hit as many of them as you can. It doesn't matter if you miss them. I've just kind of taken that mentality to dragons because I just don't use my ult sometimes.
Right.
And
Well,
it
I
just
agree.
sits there
I think
for
you should use it. I think you should use it as soon as you possibly can, as soon as the fight gives you the opportunity. But that doesn't mean you don't give it the bare level of thought, right? I mean,
I'm still learning it because I never use it.
Right. So I think the best way of thinking about Dragon is that it is an exceptional zoning tool. And it either clears out angles or it makes people move in locations where they don't want to. So like, let's say that you're... okay, so let's actually wait till there's an actual fight here.
That probably until second point. I want to say there's like
okay. So let's say you have
everything's
Dragon
very
here.
sloppy.
Okay, you've got Dragon here. Okay, they're running around, they're going crazy. What would you do with Dragon right now with the information that you have? I mean, you can see through walls now, but you have pretty much full information. What could you do with Dragon to create opportunities for yourself to win this fight?
I guess just like shoot down a little bit to the right, like,
So, like,
actually
bam.
pretty much. Yeah, just like
Okay, what
try
would
and
that do?
split.
What would that do?
Split the tank off from getting anyone. Yeah.
And also get about these guys' position. They don't want to
I think
stand here, right?
Yeah.
They want to move to the side and find cover. Well, now you're denying this like at least this zone here is cover, right? And so then they're going to play in the open, which then means it's easier for you to hit your shots because they're standing in the open.
Yeah, and they were also just all running in, so I think there, it's like I'd also just be denying, instead of those two, I'd be denying the two behind them, so the Ana Cat.
Yeah. So but you see my point here. It's not just about like splitting people off, but also pushing people in uncomfortable spots. They don't want
they just
to
wouldn't
be
have
here.
any cover.
That's it, basically. Use that kind of mindset with Dragon. It's like, okay, the fight started. Let's use it, but I'm going to make people move. That's my goal. Make people move. That's it. Don't worry about kills, but make people move. Stuff like Abbott again, but honestly, the play itself was fine. My only feedback here would be more of maybe even waiting an extra half a second until you had your Storm Arrow here. It's just really important to play around that cooldown whenever you can.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to say, oh, if I hit my shots, then I would have gotten the kill. I mean, yeah, but you could say that about literally any character. Storm Arrow is your bread and butter. Storm Arrow is when you decide to take duels, when you don't decide to take duels, pretty much. Get fricked.
Yep, I just stand there, get hit.
It's fine. It happens. Okay. Good shot. Again, I love the patience there with Storm Arrow. I don't know why you're flicking your Sonic. That's absolutely hilarious. I'm not gonna... I cannot understate the importance of this mechanical habit being improved.
I think that's definitely gonna be the main thing for me as well.
I agree. It is monstrous to watch. So this is a great example of a terrible Dragon, okay? And it's funny because the idea of what you're doing is actually pretty reasonable, but the execution is cheeks. Number one, why did you Dragon without Sonic when you had it available?
I think I saw the Brig and... what is it? Brig, Ana were pushing up, and the Queen was backing off, I think.
Number two, if you're going to use Dragon to make people move, remember? Which this one, I guess the idea is there. Then why are you moving away from the vision that would allow you to capitalize off of the Dragon that you just launched?
Yeah, that's entirely fair.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm being rough on you here, but what should you do differently here? Okay, like let's Sonic, let's Dragon. Now what?
Sonic, stand there and shoot.
Just look, right? Look, right? You could even use the Dragon as zoning cover that allows you to, play around it and hide behind it or force them to not want to push into you, right? Again, so this is kind of like the idea of what the advice that you got about just throwing Dragon, using it as soon as you got it. I'm down with that, but you have to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a fine time to use Dragon, but not a fine way to use it, if that makes sense. It's a fine time, not a fine way to use it.
Just perfectly misusing it every time.
Right, basically. Sonic is fine. Storm is fine as well. I mean, Storm. It's just like if it's a duel, if you're poking from far away, it's good. I like this angle as well. Good. I mean, you're missing shots, but the idea is still there. One thing you might do is if you're like, this angle is really steep, you could always drop and swing to your left, that little staircase towards coast.
Yeah.
Because these shots are really freaking hard to land. But yeah. Good use of Storm Arrow. It is one of the best dueling cooldowns in the game. Maybe top 5 for me, honestly. Very, very strong. Good shots. I really like the awareness of, you know, I might get pushed here. You're very attentive to that.
And then
I mean, it's all right. You're just pushing, then drop back up and go up top. I'm going to keep zooming here. If you have any questions about anything that's happening on the screen, let me know. But obviously, this has been, honestly, the optimal Hanzo situation, right? Where it's a pretty static composition, a lot of high ground. To give you credit, I like how you've used your Storm Arrow. And I also have liked a lot how it's funny because you're checking the trigger discipline box here with your Storm Arrow, right? Like you're really aiming those shots slowly, but your flick habits are completely setting a dumpster fire on like any accuracy. So I love this Storm Arrow timing. I love the lunge. I love the way that you're trying to slow things down. There's actually zero way that you should ever lose a duel like that. That is completely on your flick habit. But hey, we take what we can get. I don't hate that dragon. I think it's okay. Again, your team will capitalize off of that split. You weren't there to capitalize off of it, but your team will. So, it's fine.
Yeah, I think I've been thinking, and that's where the hack comes in really handy.
Yep. Mercy's just like, bro. Pretty cheeky, but honestly OT, so they don't really have time to think about this, and you're abusing
and I
that.
lose the duel.
Well, it's because you're standing in the open. You know, you shoot Sonic here, lean here, wall climb here, and now you're holding the angle. But I assume that somehow your team touches and then you win this. Yeah. Okay. Let's get the second code here.
All right, time for the.
Okay, give me one.
Some of the Hanzo gameplay of all time.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's okay. Like I think it's worth pointing out a couple of things. So your angles were pretty reasonable. You were playing your range, and by angles I don't just mean high ground. I mean you're playing lefts and rights, splitting from your team and causing crossfire, right? It's also worth pointing out that the flicking habit was really bad. Sometimes I felt like you let Sonic sit for too long on cooldown when you had an opportunity to use it for value, and then your dragons have very little thought into it. It's also worth pointing out that you played well, but that's also a map with some verticality against a composition that was almost entirely static. That is Hanzo's dream zone right there. And I'm looking at this situation here, and I see Tracer, I see D.Va, and I'm thinking, this is going to be tough. Now, this map still checks the box of verticality. So we'll see.
I think I don't survive long enough to see most of the verticality.
Okay. I mean, if you look at this here, and like your range is like really your strong point here. So I think this is kind of where you've screwed up. So remember, your job is to play angles, right? But the range of the angle that you choose is really important. And you are looking at this and you're like, okay, I'm playing range on these characters. This is an effective range to play Moira, Tracer, Cassidy. I think that's all. I mean, this is risky versus those characters for sure, but it's a reasonable risk. But there's a problem, okay? This is not the range that you want to be playing versus this character. And so when you have the information that you do have, and you should, right here, where should your rotation go to?
Away from the D.Va.
Away. Get to here. Rotate to here. Rotate to here. Or rotate to here or here, right? Or you know, anywhere that's not here. This is just not it. And so I think this is where you can't
this is where my brain
live
turns
this.
off.
Right.
No,
I
don't.
I mean, to be honest with you, you're never going to live that. So you might as well run around and waste your time. But like that's just a sloppy, close angle. Made no sense for you to be there. At least as long as you did. Again here. Overextension. D.Va's headhunting you. You're dead.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. I want to see how low you got.
Wait, did I lift this?
I think you do. 68. 55.
Oh, 36. I had this a Moira orb plus a Moira full pocket.
Yeah.
I should have backed out there. I'm realizing now I went 3 and 12.
Well, this one at least makes more situational sense because she's half, right? Like it's not like you can never ever push a D.Va. Okay, she's got no Matrix. I got Storm Arrow in a pocket. All right, she's half HP. Okay, right? Again, we're talking about Hanzo. You're pretty flexible with that. But the full HP, full Matrix, like there's always exceptions to the rule. But you got to at least understand the rule. And right now, maybe you understand the rule, but you're not executing on the rule at all. You Sonic that, good stuff. Now, this is one where you need to play your dual fundamentals better. So you do have an advantage here. Yes, you hit the headshot. Nice shot. But he's going to get healed. And you really need to be careful about how you're over peaking here without what?
Yeah.
What you need for this to work? Usually.
Cover and Storm Arrow.
Cover and Storm Arrow. Yeah, exactly. At least one of the two. At least one of the two. All right. So this is not always bad. This could be very good if you had Storm Arrow, or if you had better cover versus, ironically, their backline. Right. It's less to do with this guy. The Juno is peppering you down. I mean, actually, it doesn't end up being the Juno, but regardless, that's still a box you'd like to check. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sonic there is fine. What information do you do with that? This is fine. I don't know. It's tricky for me. Like,
yeah, I should have looked up for a second first.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I understand what you're doing here. You're trying to avoid the cast pushing you here, and then you actually end up walking right into the Diva. Okay, I'm gonna say it. Your tank lines. This is exposing their weaknesses right now. Because there's no pressure on anybody right now outside of Cart, and this is kind of why this is bad, because Diva and Cassidy are allowed to take all the space in the entire universe. But at the same time, this is why, honestly here, maybe even the Sonic is something you want to wait just a little bit with. And, okay, once you realize that they're close here, maybe your next disengage here is not to do this, but to back off to an angle like this, or to back off to an angle like this instead. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think, like, you're quote-unquote playing the angles here, but you're not always using your cooldowns very intelligently when you're up close, which is the only way you beat a Cassidy, is by Sonic and Storm, right? He doesn't need anything. He can just beat you with a straight-up kit. And then use your range, Use your range when and where you can. I think this is... Basically, every death you've had here has been within 5 meters of a target. Basically, every death. Where's your angle now?
Nowhere.
Well, where would you go?
I guess where I should go is cross the bridge.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Play like wall climb here. Like, give yourself some... Like, Diva will reach you, but make her use her full boosters to get to you. Essentially, is kind of what we're going for.
Yeah.
It gives you time to react. It gives you time for your supports to react. It puts poke damage there.
Just brainlessly go main again.
Yeah, I mean, at least you have some distance here, right? And she is low. But do you want to guess where that Tracer came from? Oh, wait, she just came from main.
Yeah.
Oh, well, frick me. There goes my point. Never mind, disregard.
There's two when you said that.
I was too. But regardless, like, this still is useful for you. You can kind of see it here. And you know, this kind of goes to show that this is why you don't stack, right? Like, she wasn't even... I don't even know what she was aiming for. I think she just saw a clump and aimed for it. Yeah, so she had no idea what she was going for. You're just a casualty of war, and that's exactly why you don't want to be here. So we didn't see necessarily the benefits of you being in the angle, but we definitely saw the downsides of you being stacked with your team.
Yeah. The duality of Hanzo.
Right. Too close. I mean, it's too close only because your team is in spawn. That's basically what we're doing it.
Yeah.
And here's another question. Okay, first off, what the frick is wrong with you? Well, obviously, we don't need to talk about this dragon.
Stupidity.
Yeah, Again, we don't have to talk about, what's wrong with the dragon. I think it goes without saying, right? Just wait a second, get some information, then use it. It's okay to use it here as soon as you'd like to. Even just to force card off or clear high ground. Fine with me, right? But just get a little information first. Okay?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, this is just a case of just chill a little bit. I like the angle here. I really do. I like the angle. I like the wherewithal to Sonic behind you. I like going, oh, Storm Arrow. I like
actually
lunging
thought
off.
the cast was behind me. I don't know why.
Yeah, this is okay. The only problem here is just take a second and hide, get healing, and then go from there. You just kind of you rushed it. So this is probably the most earned death that you've had. It happens. It sucks, but yeah, it's okay. Good try. Like, it felt like your head was on straight here, right? You just needed to kind of chill a little bit. That was good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, not every death is going to be like, some disastrous feed or troll, right? And I think you can kind of see the problem here is that, like, you've been burned so many times, now you're scared to do anything, right? And I think the problem now...
I still do go up there.
Well, yeah, because you realize this is pointless, but now your team is dead, so... Yeah, I mean, you might as well just try for it here. Yeah, I might even just hid there and see if I could wait. Just kind of wait till your team comes back, This is fine.
avoided 007 there.
Yeah, that's all right. It's all right. It's funny because I don't think you're like missing every shot here. You're playing into a tough matchup. You're getting headhunted by the D.Va who's playing well. Your tank is positioning and playing very poorly. You are also really struggling, and this is the thing we want to hang our hat on, to keep distance from the enemy threats without playing on the floor. You're having a hard time finding that balance, and I think that's the key thing for me. Does all that kind of make sense so far, especially that last point?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I want to turn that I think so into I know so because we're going to fix it right here. I want you to coach yourself where you need to be with the information that you have. You know Tracer's on the left. You know D.Va's on the right. Where should you be right now?
Probably go under into the room below. Or
like here or here?
Yeah, I meant through there. And then I could have an angle on point.
Sure. But isn't D.Va just going to drop on you and one-shot you?
Yeah.
Maybe not. I'm being devil's advocate here. I want you to think about it.
Because I don't think she would do it. But
okay.
At the same time, I'm a little traumatized from this game still, so I feel like I'd get a D.Va in my face anywhere I went.
And I want you to take a second, take a deep breath, and look at the situation. Tell me what you should do. Let's check the box off. Let's just go to the box. We weren't sure about this. Okay. What about wall climbing and peeking it this way?
No.
That's an obvious no. Okay. Right. All right. What about ignoring the D.Va and swinging wide this way instead? Maybe rotating towards this direction.
Yeah, that's better.
That feels like a very safe play, right? Okay, so then what about coming this way, wall coming up and peeking the D.Va from here?
I would say good, but again, I feel like I just get the D.Va in my face here.
Well,
because
you're going to always have the D.Va in your face. The question is does she have to use boosters to get to you or not?
Yeah.
So I would say this is tolerable. This is fine. Yeah. You could shoot her, force your matrix early, drop. You still have your lunge, get lunge to cover. That's fine. So I would say your best bet is either to peek the D.Va here. Again, it's not avoiding the D.Va. It's just keeping her at a distance and shooting her in the face, right? This is good. This rotating to this is also very good. Those are your choices.
Okay.
So if you ever have a map like this and you feel completely swamped, completely overwhelmed, do exactly what we're doing here. And just put yourself in different positions, even if you think they might be bad, and think about it. Would that be good? Would that be good? Would that be good? Like, would it be rotating here be good? What about peeking top here? What about... Just practice that over and over and over again. And then go execute it next time it happens.
Yeah.
See here, your team just 3-2-1s runs to point and gets smoked, right? Now, what can you do about that? I don't know. To be perfectly honest with you, and we're Elo Hell advocates here, this is a really, really stupid game plan from your team, and certainly not one that works with Hanzo. You guys forfeited the entire map control and are paying the price for it.
Yeah, they were pretty tilted at this point because I was not doing too hot.
Just run the point, guys. Yeah, but it doesn't work as well. Now, what could you do if they do want to do that and you don't want to? How do you maintain your long angle? Without
probably go just full right side past the mega and
yeah. You could even hide, just sit quietly and wait and peek when the D.Va gets distracted. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna do it here, but you are gonna get scouted out. Sure. And this is the problem.
Yeah.
It's not shooting the D.Va. It's lunging into the D.Va when team is rotating away. You're dead. Should be. And
my whole
because
team peels for me.
And people die for it, right? People die for it because the whole team peels for you. Your jungle queen dies, your Lucio dies, and so on.
I still killed someone doing that, so
yeah, I mean,
wasn't my enemies.
Right, you're hitting your shots hasn't been the problem here, and then obviously like you're kind of in the open here.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Got some distance here, so you're just good to shoot. Oh, that's tragic. Yeah, I mean, this has been fine from you. The positioning, the storm arrow usage is fine. You were even thinking about dragon there. At this point in time, it's a bit of
Actually,
a...
don't know if I was thinking about dragging, to be honest with you.
I'm going to pretend you were.
Yeah, give me the benefit of the doubt.
You just need to be more decisive here. Like, just peek your Ana. Or I guess, actually, she wasn't even responding here. I will say, this is exactly how you take a D.Va engagement, right? You see from range, D.Va comes after you. You lunge back, you hit your shots. She's getting chip damage, and she has to use her second boosters to close to you. To be honest with you, this is another one of those deaths where you just say, GG, go next.
Yeah.
This one was earned. This one was earned. The other ones were not. This one was earned. You see the difference there, right?
Yeah.
You weren't a coward.
Absolutely.
You did damage. You shot her in the face. That's it. She had to use 2 boosters to get to you. It took her like 10 seconds. I can live with that.
By the dragon.
Good Sonic. You hear D.Va. Oh, D.Va's there. I gotta avoid that. And then you avoid the D.Va. But your Ana just freaking dies. This is good. This is good. Obviously, you would like to be hitting some shots in the mean, but this rotation, like, you see what you're doing here, right? You're playing like hide and go seek here, and you're wasting the time. This is fine.
Yeah.
You just can't fold over. Yeah, and then okay, D.Va, I rotate away. Sonic on the Tracer, Sonic on the D.Va. D.Va comes after me, I avoid her, and then I kill her. This is great, mate. This is really, like, I'm not even being, like, patting you on the back to make you feel stuff. This is good. This is very good. You see the difference with how you're approaching this duel now, right?
Yeah.
This is like a brain game. I gotta keep you away. I think the dragon was okay. I know why you just dragon, but you can still see that, like, even though there's no chance of Matrix, you still didn't know where you were shooting it, right?
Yeah, and then just flick problems again.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. This is like, if it makes you feel any better, on the attack phase here, I don't think you were the weakest point of your team. Defense, you definitely kind of fumbled the bag a little bit, but your team was like, your tank is a major problem. Both of your supports and you, like, this is a mess from your team as a whole. Your team is moved. This game is over. And I actually think you played better the later the round went on. Like, you were more thoughtful. And the reason I want to commend that is not just to make yourself feel better, because I think it's important that even in a game that was clearly a wash, maybe it's because you knew that there was a coaching session coming up afterwards, but you were still trying your best. That's really important. That's really important.
I guess I always try. I don't like giving up, but I don't know. So kind of like, I don't know.
It feels bad, right?
I like winning.
Yeah,
but...
I mean, it feels bad for sure. It feels bad, but like, I guess my point being is that you still were able to practice what you needed to practice, because you came into this call and probably felt like a little bit overwhelmed by the whole D.Va thing. Like, what do I do versus D.Va? But the funny thing is you want to know what to do versus D.Va? All right. Let's coach you how to play versus D.Va. All right. So I've got this clip here from this platinum student of mine. Right. So you Sonic her. Oh, you see that she's after you. Use your mobility to avoid her, and then use your Storm Arrow to finish her off when she's overextended. Here's another example here, actually. So you get a little bit of scouting on her early. You don't play cowardly. You take space as normal. But then when you get her, again, you just avoid. You again, use your wall climb to keep distance and make her pursue. Like, you treat her with respect, and that the longer that she chases you, the more likely she's going to die, right? So that, what you're seeing right here is how you play versus D.Va, right? Do you understand? You know, that...
Yeah, the deep learning AI is activating.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, even like this, right? Like, this is the one with a double booster, right? Like, okay, so you see, you know, you maintain distance, you use your cooldowns, you use cover well, try to peek your supports, but then she had to use double boosters. Yeah. This is how you play versus D.Va, you know? So you did the right thing. It just took you too long to figure it out, right? And so my challenge for you is, can I take angles? Can I take high grounds? Can I peek positions while managing my Sonic and Storm? Because that's going to be what's gives you information and the capability to hold these angles without dying. Right, while maintaining distance. And because the reason why we're so obsessed over D.Va is because D.Va is honestly a stand-in for like 7 other characters. It's a stand-in for Genji, it's a stand-in for Tracer, it's a stand-in for Winston, it's a stand-in for Zarya. You get where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, I actually really like the Zarya and Tracer fights with Hanzo, but outside of that, it's...
Yeah. Well, Tracer, you feel like you get like a much bigger burst, but yeah, D.Va will ruin your day. Like, let's be honest, this character is definitely a counter to you on a lot of maps. But I guess my point being is here, like, when you outplayed her, she died. Right? Now, she would sometimes bomb the remake, but she was punished for it, right? So your challenge is, can I still take space like I was in the first code that we were looking at, without dying?
No. Or
Right. Well,
Right.
yes and no, but not in the exact same way. But your mindset still needs
Yeah.
to be: can I take space? Can I take angles without immediately frontlining? Without stuffing myself within fight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's focus on the two things here. So I'm gonna put down the number one thing: practice taking angles, space, high grounds versus close range heroes and tanks, Diva, Genji, etc. Like, where do I need to be? Where can I go? And you might not always recognize it in the moment, but that's something that you need to practice over and over and over and over and over again. Okay? Second point, work on track into flick, not flick and reset.
Yeah.
Probably the most important thing we talked about. Probably the most
Yeah,
important thing
yeah.
we talked about was that mechanical habit there. Moving on to that, what do you think? If we were to pull anything out with Storm, Sonic, if anything, Dragon, what do you go? What do you got?
Learn how to use them. You learn how to basically use Dragon at the most bronze level instead of
Right. Dragon
Brainless.
to clear space, then capitalize. Okay to use quickly, but don't use brainlessly. Right? I think your Sonic and Storm Arrow was good. I think it wasn't perfect, but I think when it wasn't perfect, I think it's because you got a little bit complacent, not because you didn't know how to use them, if that makes sense. I think when you were thinking, you always do Sonic and Storm Arrow correctly. The only feedback that I would have is that obviously Sonic and Storm are insurance to take closer range duels. Keep that in mind.
don't take angle unless I have both. Just
Well,
look at
depends on the type of
what's the
angle, right?
Yeah.
Right. If you think
Yeah, it's
back to
like,
that,
I remember with
no, go ahead.
one of your Winston videos, just like don't die without bubble, unless technically you have primal
Right.
or someone's like the
Right.
exceptions, but
There's always exceptions, but basically, if think about like when you were fighting the Cassidy a lot on second point defense, right? A lot of those duels did feel good because you had Storm, or didn't feel good because you didn't, right? And that's because the nature of the range that you were playing. It's not because you can't duel Cassidy without Storm. That's not true. But if you're going to get in his face, it's kind of important to have it. Storm. Think about it this way: Storm is your ticket for close range duels. That's kind of the way to think about it.
I think I'm kind of bad at ability tracking because it's just all of Hanzo's cooldowns minus like Sonic are just so quick.
True. So you can fight frequently, but that might mean that, okay, I know the Cassie's there. I might peek for one shot, but I'm not going to actively lunge in or take a duel until I wait 3 more seconds. Right? That's it.
Yeah.
So if you find yourself dying to Genjis and Tracers a lot, ask yourself, was I too close on my angle given the fact that I did or didn't have Storm Arrow?
Okay.
That's mostly
All right.
Well, a lot of little details there, but I think when you go into game, I just recommend, you've heard me talk about it in my sessions, but keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
One thing at a time. And then in terms of like how often you practice which one, I don't really care. It's up to you. You can work on a whole day of mechanics, a whole week of mechanics, or you could just have a couple games of mechanics and mix it up day by day. Keep it fresh. Don't get yourself bored. It might be something that you practice more depending on what you're playing. Like if I'm playing versus Diva, Genji, probably your positioning going to be more important to work on.
Yeah.
If I were to revisit Iconvaldi again, I would say mechanical practice, right? Because your positioning was pretty autopilot, pretty decent, right? And yeah, go from there. Okay, any questions?
No, I think that's more than I expected. I guess